Hi, I'm Dr. Michelle Pedicola, and this is the Healers Connection. This is a group where you have the opportunity to meet some amazing healers, ask questions, do your research, and find out who is right for you if you are needing healing, or maybe just a new tool in your healing kit. I would like to begin by asking you to post in the chat what brought you here today. Today, we're going to be interviewing Laura Long about Qigong and the power, the self-healing power of Qigong, and I'm very excited. So go ahead and say, great, you're in the chat, trying something new. I love it. Yes, let's expand our knowledge of what's out there so that we have those resources when we need them. Or maybe we use them now because we want to be healthy for the rest of our lives. We want to be vital and energized. That's my focus in the Healers Connection, is to help expose you to all the various modalities. So for example, next week, I have Grace Goricha, who is going to be talking about emotional intelligence and how to manage your emotions so that you can be intelligent and you can have a more positive and joyful and more relaxing, healthful life. So she's going to be coming here on the second Tuesday of the month. So I'm going to go again. Well, you probably already know this because you've come here, but we are meeting twice a month, once on Tuesday evening, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Daylight Saving Time. We're in Daylight Saving Time. And once a month, early in the morning on Friday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. That's so that I can reach as many possible people as I can to share with you these amazing women, and so far women. And I've got people scheduled for the next 3 months. So please join us and learn what you can learn. Some people have been posting, I'm here because I joined a friend on a daily Qigong class practice months ago and was a complete beginner and I'd like to know more. Excellent, Mary. And feeling lost, wanting a healing community and help with reframing negative limiting beliefs and thoughts. Well, you definitely want to come then for our next show. But I bet Qigong can help with some of your negative thoughts as well. I would like to introduce Laura. We are going to do interviewing for maybe about 15, 20 minutes. I'm going to ask her questions and then I'm going to open it up. But go ahead and if you have questions, post it in the chat so that I can every now and then look. And if there's a question, I'll ask Laura. So Laura actually came from the Western medical community. She was in administration and she was there for over 30 years. And then something happened in her life that changed everything. Basically, she went down the rabbit hole. Like so many of us, something happened that totally broke open her carefully constructed world. And she decided that when she looked in deep, that she was hollow. There was this empty feeling that there must be something more. And then she started on her quest to find the answers. And she dove into deep learning, acupuncture, yoga, EFT, and professional coaching. Now she's put it all together to help successful professionals bridge the gap between their outer success and their inner missing parts so that they can be whole. I'm going to invite Laura. I'm going to unpin myself so you can also come on the stage. Hold on a second. It's not going to let me unpin. Oh, there we go. Okay, I'm going to, if you don't want to show up on the video, you might want to turn your video off and then maybe you won't show up because for some reason, Marcy, you're showing up on the screen. All right, Laura, the first question is, what is Qigong? Okay. And am I pronouncing it right?
Well, yeah, sort of, yes. Let me correct you on one thing about my deep study, because you said acupuncture. And
Oh, acupressure. You're right.
Acupressure, big difference. Hi, Barbara. Barb's showing up on my.
Yep, she's here on her iPhone.
Hi there.
Hi, Barbara.
And so the big question, what is Qigong? Are you pronouncing it right? So it's the word Qi. Qi is one pronunciation, and you'll actually see it spelled CHI. And then Qigong, Qigong, all are all the same. It's the same. However, I say Qigong. Qigong is kind of a little combination of both. So Qigong. So we start with the two parts of the word to understand what is Qigong. There's Qi, the QI, the CHI part, and there is the Gong part. And then you put those two together and you have this marvelous practice that we can work with towards our healing. So QI is Qi, and it means vital life force energy. It's the energy that is within us that beats our hearts. And it's also the energy that moves the stars. So it's everything all around us in nature. And it's that same energy that we have within us that keeps all of ourselves in balance and movement. And it's super, super powerful. So that is what Qi is. And then we have the word Gong. And if you see it written in Chinese characters, because it comes from the lineage of China, ancient China, it has two characters, Qi and Gong. Gong means to work it. It means to cultivate it, to practice it. So the word, you put them together and you have the workings and the practice and the cultivation of your vital life force energy that is within you and as is within nature.
So basically what we have here is a practice that helps you to master your own internal energy and force. And how does that relate to the rest of the energy that's out there in the world?
We are made of the same particles. We are made of all of the same elements. And elements is another part of Qigong that actually is a part of the understanding of how we relate to the world in this question that you're asking is how are we the same? So let's take, for example, the seasons, the elements of the seasons. There's change. The ancient writings of Qigong come from the book of change, I Ching. You've probably heard of the I Ching, written 1300 years before Christ. And they speak of this inevitable change. And we see it in our world every day, how much there is change from season to season. So those seasons have a whole bunch of coordination and element, everything from sound to emotions to all of our senses to colors. And to give you a specific example is that the season of autumn is the metal element in nature as its expression in us, not that it's hard, but it has some qualities of building upon. So when you look out in our world and you see all of the buildings, that's kind of a metal element. It's a clear construction. And so that now starts to work with our mental processes and how it works with our physical processes is that it controls our lung and large intestine. So each of the parts of us are like the rivers in nature. We have little rivers of energy within us. They're called meridians. And those meridians are our inner flow, just like we have the inner flow of all of nature and the changes through the seasons. Our ancients have mapped out those coordinations for us.
So you talk about the inner flow in the meridians. So this is related to acupressure or acupuncture. It is. So tell us a little bit about where did this whole approach, this approach to vitality in life, where did it originate, and what's its history?
Yes, that is fascinating. It's a fascinating history. And I'm going to preference all of my answers by saying this is a very complex as the world is complex, as we are as complex, and it is also just as simple as the beauty of nature and the beauty of humanity. So it started back when about 13 recorded history, it was probably much older in Asia. And they say that around 1300 BC, or even before that, there was an Indian monk or spiritual leader that went and visited the monks in China, the Shaolin monks. Okay, they're very significant in Qigong, and they saw that the Shaolin monks were not as healthy as they could be, so they taught them some physical movements. And the Shaolin took it and developed what we know as a part of Qigong today, and then they took it further and they brought it into the martial arts. So Qigong has different parts of how they function. Remember, we went back to the meaning of the word, the movement and the working of Qi. So, in that sense of the word, actual meaning, so much of our healing modalities are of Qigong. We are working the energy. But the specific Qigong movements became mastered through the Shaolin China way, way, way long time ago. And they are still doing it. You can go to YouTube and you can find some fascinating Shaolin videos there. And so the history is really fascinating, and it's come all the way up into modern times, just like yoga has come from Patanjali way, way, way long ago, and the Yoga Sutra. There are the same similar writings that have come through that teach us not only the physical, but they teach us the inner flow of our subtle energies, our little rivers inside. They teach us how to relate in the world. So our work with our mental, our physical, and our breath. Our breath. So we say that there are 3 pillars of Qigong. The first pillar being the physical movement, and the second pillar being the breath, how we regulate our breathing, and the third being how we intend our thoughts to be. So we set an intention. So if I were to work with you on grief, if I knew that you had an issue with grief, I would work with your lung, large intestine meridian, because that is the emotion that coordinates with those organs to help release and become to balance with that. And we would use physical gestures that work through the linear lines through the body. And that's why you have to have a little bit of skill and knowledge of that kind of thing if you really want to be effective when you work with Qigong as a teacher.
If you're going to be a teacher or a healer, then you need to know the meridians. You need to know how the various body parts connect with that. How does this relate?
Yeah.
Pardon?
I'm sorry, Michelle. I was just saying, and 5-element theory is very, very helpful too.
5-element theory. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
How does this relate to Tai Chi?
Yeah, that's one of the very first questions, because Tai Chi is a more common term that people are familiar with. And you've seen people out in the parks doing the really slow, and you've seen pictures of China and some in all big cities have areas of community park where people will be doing either Qigong or they will be doing Tai Chi. So Qigong is the father or the grandfather of Tai Chi. Remember the Shaolin monks? The Shaolin monks learned to work with their inner Qi so that they could stay healthy and they could prosper in their advancement towards enlightenment. Okay, but they often got invaded by robbers, and they noticed that their inner Qi was so powerful that if they used some external movements to divert, because they're of peaceful people, they wanted to divert before they struck. So you will see in Qigong, you will see a lot of diverted movement and some outward movement, but here's what looks different. How the practice is different is that it has long A, B, C, D, E, F, G parts. That would be one frame that you would do. And you have to learn all those different parts to do that one frame. When you do Qigong, I say, go like this. And we do that several different times. So it's much shorter. but the actual, you will do Qigong in a Tai Chi because you want to cultivate your inner Qi, your ability to work with your inner mastery before you go out into the world and protect yourself and divert. So,
So it sounds like Qigong is maybe easier to learn than
yeah,
Tai Chi. The
yes,
Tai Chi has a very formalized
yes,
structure, and
yes.
Qigong is really about connecting to your energy and activating your energy
Mhm.
from the various meridian points. Is that correct?
Yes, and it all is about the Qi. All, Qi Gong, and Tai Chi, CHI, is still about the cultivation of the energy.
The
It's still
energy.
that part.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
there's medical Qigong. Medical Qigong is a whole nother realm that we now master our inner Qi, and we help other people correct their external Qi, the external processes. Welcome, Liz. You want to put yourself on mute, sweetie, and we'll.
Yeah, we're going to be finishing. Yes, Liz, welcome. We're going to be finishing the interview in a while. We're doing fine. And then we're going to open it up for questions. So if you feel like you have a question that you want to put in the chat that you want me to ask Laura, please go ahead and do that. We are recording, and this will be available to anybody who joins the Healers Connection. And so I want to welcome those of you who just showed up. Laura's been explaining to us the history of Qigong and also how it differs from Tai Chi, and that both of them are an effort to cultivate the Qi. Am I
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Whereas in Tai Chi, it's more an outward protective or maybe even an offensive approach
It's
to
considered a martial art.
a martial arts.
Martial art.
Whereas Qigong is really about cultivating your energy. And it sounds to me like Qigong is a really great practice for maintaining your energy at its best and highest level, right?
Yes. But I must say that Tai Chi, it has all of the healing elements as well, especially modern Tai Chi.
Mhm.
And so it's not really a and or an or. They kind of go together. But when you come to with me, I'm going to do just Qigong with you, and I'm going to call it Qigong, and we're going to go more inward and more
Mhm.
meditative and
Mhm.
more focused. And the Qigong, the Tai Chi does those things too. So I want to give it a fair shot there.
Okay. All right. I did try Qigong, not Tai Chi once. And I had a hard time. Well, I've tried both of them, but I had a hard time remembering all the positions
There
of
you
Tai
go.
Chi.
There you go.
Yes, there
That's
was a
it.
lot, and it was just, first of all, it was hard to acquire that balance, and then it was hard to remember all the sequences. So I have to say that Qigong has, certainly as I get older, it seems to have more appeal than one in which, although I suppose it's good for you to learn all those things. It probably helps to stimulate your brain.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I did say a little bit about how you went into your quest, but how did you specifically find yourself being a Qigong practitioner and teacher?
It was when I fell in love with the meridians. Okay, so that sounds like a really interesting, provocative statement. But I actually, on my path, I was this mad learner. I would go to the library and get everything I could, and I just learned and learned and learned. And I was walking to a bookstore one time, and I picked up a book, and it talked about meridian tapping on the meridians. And we know this is EFT now. It used to be called meridian tapping, and still is. That's the category. And so that was my first exposure to meridians. And I said, if these meridians, because I would do it on myself, and it was super powerful. And I thought, hey, I feel a lot better. And I knew that that was 1 inch of the meridian awareness. And I said, I want to know more. So I found myself at the Acupressure Institute in Berkeley and fell in love with everything there and went deep, deep, deep into acupressure study, and of course got the certification and then practiced for 10 years. But how does that relate to Qigong? Acupressure is Qigong. It is the working of the Qi, right? And it's the external working of the Qi when you work with somebody else's Qi. So we had to, as practitioners, develop a way to sustain our Qi, keep ourselves stable, healthy, and in flow, just like the Shaolin monks. So we started before class, we did Qigong. We did Qigong in the middle of class at every break. We did Qigong at the end of class. We did Qigong on the weekends. We did, and I studied a Tuina acupressure, which is just wild and so much fun to do. I really miss doing it, but I would have you on the table, and we're not just doing little slow stuff. We do fun stuff. In other words, to get that Qi to flow. And in that movement of the Qi, I would do Qigong moves to help your Qi move within you. Isn't that exciting? It's
Yeah.
exciting to me. You can tell it's exciting to me. I miss that part. So I don't have my practice license anymore because I went into, doing more remote. I wanted to work more with a lot of people all over the world. So.
That's wonderful. And yet I understand. I mean, of course, that's perfect for right now, where we've been sheltering in place for so long,
Mhm.
and we have gotten used to connecting with people remote, and it has opened up huge new areas and new access to people that we weren't accessing before.
I know.
But that contact, that physical contact, I mean, aren't we all longing for that because we have been sheltering in place for so long? So I appreciate that. There's something about that physical contact and what can happen with the body when you actually touch it, when you
Yes.
touch another person's body.
And when you touch it with that intention to move it through, like if you came to me for grief, we come back to that because it's the lung, large intestine. I would use particular acupressure points and flows to get that to move, just like the acupuncturist, but without the needles. And let me tell you, if you've ever thought about going to an acupuncturist, but you're scared of the needles, don't let that. It doesn't hurt. It's not a scary thing at all.
It's
It's a
true.
wonderful thing.
Western medicine seems to have started to go in that direction too, because when I went and got my vaccine, the needle was actually more fine than I've ever seen before. It wasn't anywhere
Didn't
near.
hurt, did it? It
Yeah,
didn't hurt me either.
it's really great.
Yeah.
You decided to teach others. You teach people Qigong.
Mhm.
Why did you decide to teach as opposed to doing the practice? Is that because you wanted to reach more people, or
Yes.
say a little bit
Yes, but
about
I took a kind of an oath for myself. I have been in leadership roles. I've always been sort of a teacher, sort of in my nature. Even in corporate, I was a teacher. And then after corporate, I taught the business of medicine in a private college. And on my table, when I had my acupressure clients, I would teach them. I would try to teach them some EFT. I'm always teaching somebody, but at when my teaching contract at the college ended, I asked myself a really powerful question: is how can I optimize and continue to grow to teach people at the highest level so that they can reach themselves at the highest level? So I'll meet them where they're at, but I want to have somewhere to take them at the highest level. And I mean, it was EFT. It was always been meridian focused. It was EFT for quite a while. And I have several different modalities that I work with people on. And then when the pandemic hit, particularly, I said, nature is going to have to be our hug that we can get. We can't be around people very closely, so we're going to have to hug nature. So I took us out into nature, into the parks, and we put our little masks on and we stood about 10, 20 feet apart, and I screamed out, as loud as so people could hear me, and we got the movement going. So it's my mission to optimize how I can maximize the current situation of what people are needing to master their inner wellness.
that's
And
awesome.
Qigong is where it's at right now. And Qigong is feeding my soul. And seeing the people and hearing what they're doing is just so inspiring to me.
Wow. So where are you practicing? What park are you practicing?
Yeah.
And That's not the question. Why are you practicing in a park? And when there's so many who are still online with it, what that, yes, so that's a question. You just answered that one, which is so that
Yeah,
people can get out in nature and be
yeah,
in,
yeah.
yes.
And
And
it
you
can feel
probably
good.
have a medical reason for that as well.
Well, it's really kind of a personal choice too. When it was raining, we did a Zoom session, and it just wasn't quite hitting it for me. I need to feel inspired, and I want to be as at my highest level too. And don't get me wrong, when you do a qigong through any experience, you're going to feel it and get it, and it's good. But if you really want to optimize, you're going to get out in nature and you're going to get with community a little bit. And that exchange of chi, that
Mhm,
beautiful exchange of intention is
mhm.
uh, palatable.
So you're bringing an interesting point to the foreground because my background is sociology, so I really understand the power from a very scientific way how we influence each other. But I also understand on an energetic level that there's something that happens when
Mhm.
we're around other people.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why it's been so difficult, this sheltering in place, is that we have been
Yes.
denied that.
Yes. 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 And that's why our nature walks are so significant. And here in Sacramento, we are by the river, and I think you were asking me also where
Yes.
do we do this at? And we're blessed here in the Sacramento region. We have these beautiful river areas, and we first started out by what they call Clay Banks Park, and we actually got to go right down by the river on these flat clay banks, and we practiced there for a while. It was a little distracting, so we went back up to the park, and now we're over at a beautiful botanical park. So if you're
Mm,
anywhere around uh, uh, the Sacramento region, it is on Fair Oaks Boulevard, and this won't mean that much to everybody else, but it's a beautiful part of town. And it used to be owned, and it got by a private resident who built this beautiful botanical area. And to give you an example, they had 1,000 tulips around this ancient old oak tree that we got to look at every time we came to do qigong. So we're in watching the changes in nature
mhm.
in this beautiful botanical area right now, and that we're hoping to stay there. My goal is to move around as nature needs us to. If it gets too hot, too noisy, whatever. So it's in the park.
So how can people connect with you if they're not in the Sacramento area?
Well, probably the best way is just to through my website, which is lauralong.pro.
Mhm.
I will be having a qigong. I'm building a qigong page there, and I also have a Facebook group that's called. Um, I recently changed the name a little bit, but it's called Superpowers for High Achievers, and it's just about. I call it the energy exchange. I don't do a lot there, but I do some stuff. I also have a YouTube channel that I put some stuff out on. But
Mhm.
I am a qigong person to person right now. That's how I'm enjoying qigong mostly is in community,
In community.
in community.
Okay.
But if you work with me as a as a as a professional that is missing those parts and wants to get reconnected, I will show you some qigong, and I'll show you lots of different things as well as the coaching itself. I do both.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to open this up for questions with everybody, and I'm going to change the view. So if you don't want to be seen, because this is being recorded, then keep your picture off. But if you don't mind, then go ahead and share your picture. Hi, Rachel, great to see you. Please ask Laura your questions. What do you need to know about Qigong? What, if you're a newbie, what would be the first thing that you needed to do to bring this into your life? What's the advantage of doing it? How is this going to really make your life better? I didn't ask you that, Laura, but I'm asking that of you now.
I just saw somebody was asking me for my contact
That's right.
information.
You can go ahead and put that
Um,
there.
I'm actually
Um,
going to type that in. HTTPS. I'll put the actual link. I think That'll get you there. Yeah, that's my website. That's probably the best way
To connect
connect
with
with me
her,
because I've got the social figures on there that you can, go over to.
connect to the other places.
So what did you ask me, Miss Michelle?
I asked you, what can people expect by doing Qigong? How can it help?
Oh, yeah.
Suppose you already are healthy and
Mhm.
fine. Why would you want to do Qigong? Would it have any benefit for somebody who's already healthy and energetic? Would it have a benefit?
Absolutely. And that's a very good question. Is like you don't have to be sick to want to thrive, right? Sometimes we're surviving and we don't realize how much we can thrive. And that's that mission that I have is to help people go to that next level and to thrive. So it can help people in their sports, in any physical activities that they do. It's going to enhance that, just as it did the Shaolin monks who learned how to master their energy and then took it out. And so learning that inner mastery helps with mental, it helps with physical, but it has the physiological effects of increasing the blood flow and the circulation. It has the deep breathing that comes with calming of the nervous system, the expansion of the lungs, getting the oxygen to the organs. So it's all kinds of aspects that you would think about both physiologically and psychologically, if we're going to use that term, and spiritually. And in my Monday classes, since it's on a Monday, I will often say, let's think about an intention and a focus that we would like to set as we move forward through the week. And of that, pick a word that means that to you. And then we're going to dedicate our practice to it. And then as we dedicate the practice to it, I will oftentimes say this gesture is to let go all of the obstacles for that. And I'll move through a releasing gesture. So we've got all of the aspects of our physiological movements going on beneficially. Work more specifically, when that focus happens, those meridians, which is the beating of the heart. I mean, have you ever asked yourself what makes your heart beat? I mean, there may be some scientific answers, but once that heart doesn't beat anymore, you're not there. So we call that the chi of the heart, right? And that each of our organs has a flow that it responds to that we are communicating with in Qigong.
So maybe you're bringing all of that flow into alignment when you do Qigong. Yes.
Absolutely.
Rachel asked, what are the other elements? You mentioned metal. What are the other elements and seasonal associations with Qigong? Can you address
Yeah.
that a little bit?
Yeah, I'm impressed y'all want to go a little deeper. I told you I started the question going, this is a deep subject, you know. And but we can talk about I've got a chart right here just to look at. So we go from autumn and then we go to the next would be winter, right? So we go from autumn into winter, and that becomes the water element in our body. That becomes the kidney and the bladder. Those are the influences. And then the emotion that goes with that is deep sadness or sorrow or worry. Let me look exactly what is the color is blue, it's fear. So we work with our fear when we work with our kidney in our winter element. And each of the meridians that we are named after the organs. So we call it the kidney meridian and we call it the bladder meridian. And it runs through there, but it runs all through your body. So for example, the kidney meridian starts at the bottom of your foot, runs up the inside of your leg up to the collarbone. So when we do a movement that is influencing the kidney meridian, we're going to create a flow. I'm going to oftentimes direct you through that flow. And so that is how we work with the elements. And then the next element is spring. And that has the organs that govern for the spring as the wood element. And it's the gallbladder and the liver. And then through that, we're working through anger and frustration. So, and it goes to the earth and back to metal. Earth element is the stomach spleen, and we're working with worry to release worry. That's out of balance, is we want to get back into balance. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it looks like it did. It looks like it did. So If you have, what kind of illnesses would it be good for? What kind of physical challenges would it be particularly good for?
Well, the physical challenges, if you are going to go to a community Qigong class like I teach, I do ask that my clients be able to move their joints freely. That is one of my requirements. But if you're not in that situation where you can move your joints freely, then we can do we can accommodate it and do adaptations. But I would just suggest that whoever you're working with in your guidance of your Qigong has the intention to break it down for you, or to be in community class and have a person self-regulate. I tell my people, I say, do you, and you modify what you need to modify, and don't go past your limitations personally. But if you have limitations, if you have an injured knee or you have something going on, tell me about it ahead of time, and we'll see if we can work with it before you get to class. And then also, like Kaiser, I have the Qigong teacher of Kaiser comes to my class periodically, and she is in Kaiser local here, and she works specifically with people who have had injuries to modify the movements that's going to work with those inner rivers, that's going to stimulate and release the blockage and the stagnation. So pain is stagnation, illness is blockage. So you think about a little river going down, a river going down. You put a big boulder in there, it's a block. It's going to push back, it's going to cause excess on one side, and it's going to cause limitation on the other side, lack of flow. So what, in its most simplest form, we're working to break that down so that there's flow coming through.
Yeah, we want to have everything flowing. We want to be flowing, vibrating, wonderful beings. Mary Ellen said she would like to ask you a question. Mary Ellen, do you want to ask her your question?
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you so much for having this event today. My question for Laura is that I'm somebody who is always seeking ways to heal and ways to improve and give more and receive more. And so I'm very open, and I also have this strange old habit based on some stuff from my childhood, I believe, of not having faith in things. It's very hard for me to have faith. And it's kind of like, it's very hard for me to have faith in myself being able to get the thing, kind of. It's complicated. But so, and like you can see it in so many parts of my life, like with my voice lessons all my life. I'm a singer. The person would say, see how that feels different? And I'm like, no. So it's like I have this resistance to being able to be helped in a sense.
Okay,
So
you said you're a singer?
Yeah.
And your voice teacher said, do you feel that? And you said no?
Yeah, often.
Do you feel anything? Do you feel it now? Did anything change?
Over time things change, but I just have this sort of chip on my shoulder of doubt or something, even though I'm just super open. It's a little contradictory and interesting. But so I've been taking Qigong every day at 9:30 on Zoom since, August or July or something. And it adds structure to my day, and it adds a meditative quality to my day, and it just keeps me out of trouble because I'm very depressed, for someone like me, for someone as perky as me, and I'm have multiple complicated bereavement going on.
Yeah.
So it's good for me to go to anything with people, to just not have to be left to my own devices. And yet
That's a good example.
sometimes the people in the class say, wow, I felt this energy coming up, and it's like, I do it and I kind of enjoy it, and I sort of trust that it's good for me, and at the same time it's like, I wonder if, like, why I don't feel stuff, how I could be more open to feeling stuff, like to trusting that it's a good thing for me, because I do it every day pretty much. And
I just watched a Shaolin monk talk about this, about when you first start doing Qigong, and when you're doing it a year or two, you're still just starting pretty much, because it's a lifelong process. Is it really you're just watching people, you're watching and you're making the same movements and you're not going to feel a lot. And that's going to be probably most of us. And then after time, whether you trust or not, it doesn't, I don't think it matters whether you trust it or not. If it keeps you out of trouble, that's a good reason to keep going. And if something shows up, you can let go of the expectation of there being some miraculous thing that happens, and just allow whatever shows up to be okay. And that being okay, I think, is what I'm hearing, is it's okay not to feel or not to be uh, having certain ways. But if a Shaolin monk who's a master at this says, okay, at first you're just going to be doing what I'm doing, and then maybe sometimes you're going to start feeling some stuff, and then maybe later on you'll start feeling even more, then I think that's okay with me. How about you,
Okay.
Mary?
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
just,
take
I
the
want to get what
expectations
everybody
off.
else is getting, you know?
Yeah. And maybe they
I don't know if
pretending and
they're
they
getting it.
aren't either, you
I
know?
don't know that they're getting it, that much. I think that what people tell me when they leave the classes, that I feel a little bit lighter. Everybody kind of has something different. I feel this or that. It's going to be what you need and what you want. If you're just open to let that be okay, if it's not something miraculous. Because I mean, I've doing Qigong for 20 years, and there are certain times when it's not miraculous for me either.
This
And
is
that's
very
okay with
helpful.
me.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
welcome.
Give yourself some time. These kind of things are subtle.
Mhm.
And at the same time, you might want to explore that mindset that gets in the way of you
Yeah.
being more open or more receptive, because it is practice of receptivity. And receptivity it's partly your mindset, but it's actually muscular too. It's like if
Yes,
you
it's in our
are
body.
tense or if your muscles are contracted, it's hard to receive.
That's a
So
good point, Michelle, because that's what we could tell Mary too, is just to check into your body. I often say that when we're doing even the simplest of moves, if we're having our arms up, is there tension in our shoulders? I'll invite them to let the shoulders down. I'll invite them, if we're in a little bit of a stance, to do a little bit of a body scan and just try to let go of anything that's holding on a little bit. And actually, that's brilliant, Michelle, because I think that is really what I'm sort of got an intuitive hit, that's what's happening when those kinds of resistance is that it's in the body.
resistance, yes. Yes. So Mary Ellen, the awareness of our bodies, we all literally have the capacity to be aware both internally and externally of our bodies. We are actually wired to be able to do that. But a lot of us in childhood learn to shut ourselves down because our childhood is too fearful or too scary, or we're too afraid of making mistakes, or we had an emotional trauma that didn't get helped. And so we felt like, oh, what's the point of having feelings? And once you shut down those feelings, you not only shut down the emotional feelings, you shut down your sensory feelings as well. And there are actually practices that can help you to reactivate your nervous system. There are things that you can do, and I'm sure that Qigong will help you to reactivate that. But there are simpler things you can do, which with my clients, they say, give yourself a massage, an oil or lotion massage on your body every day. And now you start to stimulate your body.
Yeah.
And energize that area, because if you have a habit of deadening yourself, then you have to change that habit. You have to do something different.
And you can do a chi massage. You can Google or just do a YouTube and see if you can get how to do a chi massage. And I can even show you a little bit on how to do it for the lung and large intestine. We can do a little bit of
Yeah,
movement
we can
if
do a
you
little
want to.
Qigong, but let's see if there's any other questions. Anybody else have a question for Laura, or we're going to let her do like a few minutes of Qigong demonstration and we can follow along? Would you like that? Everybody ready? So Laura, I'm going to put you in speaker view again so it's easier to see you.
Okay.
And
my view too. Actually, I don't know why I'm not in speaker view. I can only,
You're only seeing me, right? Or
yeah.
somebody else? Yes, that's
Yeah.
the way Zoom works. It drives me crazy. Did you ever see me while I was asking you questions?
Oh yeah, you were
Oh, good, because I didn't see
were
me
the
at all.
big deal there.
Okay, great.
You know, we've been through a lot in 2020, and we've had a lot of grief in whether it was personally, it was sociologically, it's been a lot of grief. And when we're talking about those elements that govern those emotions and help us release and let go of that. So we could do a little something with the lung, large intestine, the metal element us to let go of some of that. And we talked about it, doing a chi massage a little bit. So we can do some really fun upper body chi massage because the lung meridian runs through our arms on the inside. Its partner, it's yang, yin and yang. We didn't talk about that, but it has two partners. Runs on the outside of the arm up to the face. So how we would stimulate that, I'm going to show you. Do a little chi massage for the metal element and let go of some of that grief. Just start by pounding your chest right underneath the collarbone and come down, back up, and come down. I got my stone there. Come down as far as you want. Come over to the sides, down in front of the sides, down. And already you can feel that. And oftentimes you will have a cough that comes out of that. And that means that there's some stagnation in there. So we're moving the stagnation out of the lungs, and we're getting a few more meridians in there just by working with that. And now open up your hand and put one hand out just a little bit to the side of you. I'm putting it in front so that you can see me. Down, smack, 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 smack down the front. Smack, smack, smack down the back. Up the back. Hit those shoulders. Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. Come over. Now let's do the other side. Down the inside of the arm. Come up back side of the arm. The top of the shoulder. Let's do it again. Now I want you to come right above the elbow. Let's see if I can get my camera to work. Not on the joint, but just above the joint is a super huge movement point of your chi. And come up, hold your elbow, and really get that top of the shoulder. Let's do that on the other side. I'm going to come down. I'm going to show you a key point on the arm here. It's just about 3 fingers up from your wrist, and give that a nice, sometimes I do like a cupping of my hand like this. And come out the back. And then support your, and give yourself a nice pat on the shoulders. And come back. Deep breath in. Exhale, longer, the biggest exhale you've done all day long. Exhale, 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 exhale. Even let the air come through and stop tapping. Exhale, exhale. Deep inhale in. All the way from the belly, all the way up. Feel the whole body. Exhale. Squeeze the lungs. Squeeze the abdomen. Inhale, deep in. Exhale. Woo, I can feel my chi moving around a little. I mean, you could feel a little tingly maybe. You can feel a little more awake. It's going to be different for everybody. It's okay if you don't feel nothing either. That's true. That's okay. It still doesn't mean that nothing's happening. And don't be concerned with that. But can you feel anything in your arms, a little bit of movement, activity going on?
So open up. I want to hear what everybody felt when they did that Qigong, because I thought that was just totally energizing. Anybody? Yeah. Rachel?
I want to say, I think the chest thing is going to be incredibly helpful. We had a really tragic situation in my household this week. We had been gifted a couple of foundling kittens, and one of them didn't make it. So I've got a house full of teenagers that I've been trying to help assimilate this and integrate and grieve in a way that is open and flowing. And one of them's been having a really hard time just because of his background. He's become so self-protective. And having this, I could feel it opening, dislodging the stuckness
Yeah, that
to
metal
allow
element
things to
of
flow.
grief. You know, you
Yeah,
think about that metal element of grief, metal, like a,
yeah,
you can
it
actually
is.
see, as you said that, I could see that around him. And so,
Yeah,
yes, you're right. Get him to open up the arms a little bit to get the deep breath, but just be a, you know, Tarzan for a little
yeah.
while. That'll get him excited about getting some movement in there.
Yeah. So thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
Marcy B said she felt something. She felt the tingling. Anybody else wanted? Mary Ellen, did you get anything from that?
Yes, I felt the tingling, and when we started doing the very long exhales and inhales, I had a big cough, and I've
Ah,
lost so many people lately, and
ah,
it's also been very complicated, and so
Mary Ellen,
and
I
I
want
feel
you to
that
do that.
sometimes that my chest is kind of weird. So this was very helpful.
Okay, so we're
I
gonna
don't
ask
know,
you to
Laura,
do
you may have to do some Facebook Live exercises for the people who cannot show up in Sacramento, because that was just great.
Yeah.
That was really good.
Mary
Anybody
Ellen,
else
I'm going to
want to?
ask you to do that a few times a day for a while.
Yeah,
And Rachel, if you can get
That's
your
what I'm
guys to do
thinking.
that
Yeah,
too.
thank you.
Okay.
and really simple. Don't you know exactly what you need to do? Anybody not know what they need to do? Laura, you want to repeat it again? Just talk us through where do you start? You start with the,
Start right underneath your collarbone
okay,
and just be Tarzan for a minute or two.
okay.
And you can take some, it's kind of hard to get deep breaths in here. So I don't really focus a lot on my breathing, but I make sure I'm breathing
Mhm.
when I'm in here. And just kind of move it around. And guys are gonna, you know, kind of go a little more around us. Ladies, we don't bang on our
We don't want to
boobs
beat
so
our
much.
breasts up. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Even our
but
little
so
ones.
go in between. We've got a whole bunch of stuff that goes on in there. And you know, if we're working specifically with the lung, we can come over to the side. The actual lung points start right on the side of our arm here. So that when we do that tapping, we can get that side of the arm real good and get those. See, that's happening for me right now. that lung energy out, that grief right out there. Hey, you know what? You could even add a little bit underneath the arm. Is where the heart meridian starts. So you can tap under your arm and come around and then go down the front, super easy. And you know, you can get a little bit more traction in your hand sometimes when you cup it just a little bit, and that's a little Queen-on trick from the acupressure days. And then you've got these really emotional points right here, and you've got the palm of the hand, and then you've got that same point on the back, and then you've got this great large intestine point, which is right here, and you don't want to tap exactly on your elbow, but you can get right in there, and you can come up, and we've got so much going on in here that I like to give my arm a little bit of support and really get in there and bring it down, and it's just so simple to do.
That was very helpful. And of course, all of you know, since you are members now of the Healers Connection, I'm going to be posting this on my website, and all of you should have the password to get in, and you can look at Laura's recording again, and you can go through it and watch it and do this. And I think this was a gem. This was really wonderful. Thank you so much, Laura.
Somebody just asked if this was EFT. No, this is Qigong. EFT is going to be a little bit different, where we're working still with the meridian points, but we're talking, have a lot more cognitive awareness.
Yes, you're working through your emotions as you touch those points. And so we will probably have somebody who will do EFT later on the show. So do come back. Our next show, as I said, is anyway, any more things with Laura, because then I want to do some closing here. Thank you, Laura. I'll see you Monday. Marcy must be one of your clients.
Yeah, Marcy's going to come for the first time on Monday. She's that great leader we have of.
Oh, right, the walker. She's a walker? The one who takes people on hikes?
Now doing walking, because, yeah, that's right.
Okay. So Laura, thank you so much. You were just my greatest first guest. You were awesome and gave us a lot of really great information. And what I want to do is talk to you a little bit about coming back, because I have some really, really interesting people are going to be showing up on the show. I have next time Grace Garitra, who's going to be talking, as I mentioned earlier, about emotional intelligence and how to handle your emotions when you get triggered so that you're able to transform them and you don't get stuck in them. And that's really valuable. One of my favorite sayings is that we are spiritual beings having a human adventure, but the body has its own agenda.
Oh, absolutely. It's perfectly said.
And it's because the body it wants to keep you alive. And if you come in with certain fears or you have experiences that create fear in you, then you have to learn to work with your body. And I love all these different modalities that give us the tools that will help us to work with our bodies more successfully. And some are going to work for you and some aren't. Some are going to more resonate and some aren't. And that's why I created the Healer's Connection, so that you have an opportunity to try out a lot of different kinds of modalities. And if you happen to be a healer and you would like to appear on my show, please go to the Healer's Connection. Make sure you let me know. Actually, if you haven't already let me know, you can just send me an email and let me know, and I will send you the application information so that you can apply. I am looking for people who are experienced at showing up on video. And if you aren't, you can work on that so that you can show up on the show. Does anybody have any questions? I'm going to put, I'm not going to put anything in here. You have Healers Connection. I also have a Facebook group, which I'm having challenges with right now. So go to the Healers Connection on my website. If you look at www.healersconnection.com, you will be taken right there. And if you get lost, and I know how the cyberspace is, you can go to Second Chance Secrets, and you will see Healers Connection as one of the tabs. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you have a really, really great weekend. We have a really awesome weekend coming up, and that you utilize some of the wonderful techniques that Laura shared and explore more how Qigong could help you. Okay, Laura, if you go to my website, you can connect to the socials. Oh, right, that's you, Laura. Right, you can connect to the socials too. What are the social media, yes. And Mary Ellen says, I'm so grateful for this show and your intention in helping and healing Michelle. So grateful, Laura, for your time and your story and your experience. That's it for today. Be brilliant. Come back on June 8th. I believe it's June 8th. Let me check, make sure. Yes, June 8th at 5:00 p.m. Pacific time, and we will have our next guest. Thank you so much, Laura, for joining us. Have a great weekend. Take care, and bye for now.
Everybody. Bye-bye.